let's start with the beginning. I wanted to ask you, why have you named your project Recoil? I looked in the dictionary. Recoil is something like drawing oneself back from.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. It's what happens when you shoot a gun and the power of the gun throws you backwards. That's a recoil.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite nice if the music has that effect on people as well. You know, you don't want music to wash over people and have no effect. So I quite like the word for that reason. But apart from that, there was no great reason really. It was just it sounded good at the time, and that was it really.
Okay, so can I ask you what will happen tonight here? What are you preparing?
It's really just a sort of a giant remix in a way. Lots of different bits of songs mixed together in a new way, taking from some of the remixes that we've done recently and some older remixes, and then we just edited it all together in a different way and made some of the film that you saw bits of there to go with it, and that's what we do. We add some live elements, some live effects and different sounds, you know, but it's really more of a presentation.
Okay, in the studio, because I know that you've been a partner with Paul Kendall for a long time, and you're like more of the music mastermind, and he's like more than in charge with the sound and the technical aspects. How do you share responsibilities?
Well, cross over quite a lot. So sometimes I do technical bits, sometimes he does. He's more technical. He comes from an engineering background, so he knows mixing consoles and effects better than I do. But I'm not bad on programming songs and arrangements within Logic or some other software like that. So we can both do that stuff. But what the real difference is that we have different ways of listening and thinking about the music itself, you know. And I come from a much more musical background, and he comes from an avant-garde kind of left field point of view. And that just seems to work very well together. You know, we don't get in each other's way. We just tend to complement each other.
I think you said for a magazine that he's one of the few musicians you worked with who doesn't get on your nerves in the studio even after all these years. So
it's true, yeah.
What really gets on your nerves in the studio?
Well, I think the thing about Paul is he has a very gentle nature, and so he's very easy to get along with. When you work in close proximity with anybody in a confined space for a long period of time, you know, it can get difficult. And if you're trying to be creative at the same time and you don't really see eye to eye on ideas, then that just adds to the tension. So for me personally, you know, when I was in a group, for example, I just didn't want that really, and I quite enjoy working on my own most of the time. You know, you don't have to answer to other people, you don't have to be a diplomat, you don't have to be a marriage counsellor, you don't have to be an arbitrator, and you don't have to compromise about everything you do. You can just go with what feels right to you and without having to answer to anyone else. And that's what I enjoy most of all, you know. But having said all that, I enjoy other people's contributions and I want other people's performances. I just want to be able to ultimately say how it all goes together.
But when you start working on a record or on a song, so to speak, where do you start from and how does it go from there? I mean, how much is your input? How much is the input of your collaborators?
The starting point is normally me creating some bedrock, you know, some atmosphere, some sounds, some even arrangements, you know, structure, but loose structure. And then I give it to other people, and then they bring their lyrics and melodies, whatever it is they add. And that could be quite a small contribution, or it could be a huge contribution. If it's a huge contribution, it means that I then go and change everything I did before, and we have something completely new. Or it might be that they just fit in with what I did, and it's very, you know, it's just like a spoken word thing on top. You never really know what's going to happen until it happens, and that's part of the fun of working this way, you know. It's a discovery process the whole time. It's not traditional songwriting as we know it. So.
As far as I know, you said that you had for your next project about 6 or 7 tracks already ready. Could you tell me more about what will be the line of development?
Well,
or,
I would like to tell you more, but I just don't know. You know, this is what I'm saying really. It's a discovery process, and until you kind of get further down the line, I mean, I can be working on a song for a month, and then one little thing will happen, and I'll go, I'll throw everything else away and just start again with that one thing because it's better. So you just don't know what's going to happen. You just have to keep working, and gradually it starts to come together. And normally I can only really start to judge what I have when it's very near to the end.
I saw that on the Depeche Mode fan club page. There is a promotion for your Recoil tour. So was this something they offered to do? Was this a strategy of the record label? How was
No,
it?
normally I have personal relationships with nearly all the online Recoil unofficial sites, and even some of the Depeche Mode webmasters. There's all kinds of people that I'm in communication with, and I often just send them the information directly. But also the record company work with these people too, because they understand that in this day and age it's very important. Fan sites, unofficial sites, anyone who can help spread the word is really important online. I mean, most marketing now is viral, it's online marketing.
When you performed with Martin at the Royal Albert Hall, you said that you had an opportunity to have a chat with them. And what did you talk about with Martin?
Well, mainly just the usual things that you chat about with people, you know, families, what their habits are these days, you know, do they still drink as much as they used to do, what's the how's the partying situation on tour. I mean, things have actually changed quite a lot with Depeche Mode since I was in the band. Martin doesn't drink anymore. Dave goes home after every show, so he doesn't go out anymore. And we used to sort of go for big parties after every concert. So it must be a very different thing for them to be on the road these days. But in their personal lives, the things have changed a lot, I think. You know, I was very impressed with Martin because he's been sober for 4 years, and he's like a new person. You know, someone I almost didn't recognize.
I saw the footage from the rehearsal, which was before the show, which was actually extraordinary from my point of view, because it showed you two and the rest of the people moving and doing their thing, and
it has a kind of surreal quality, that piece, and I actually prefer that too. I prefer the sound check to the performance. It's just calm, isn't it? It's nice.
Yes.
And we kind of slipped into just playing it again. Like we didn't even have to kind of talk about it. We just said, should we just play it, and that was it. So we know it so well, you know.
So it was kind of easy for you to play somebody.
Technically, yeah, it's not a difficult song to play really. It's only a few chords, fairly standard chords. And as I say, we know it so well, so it's technically easy, but then you have to always take into account nerves, and sometimes when you have something quite easy to do in front of a lot of people, it suddenly gets difficult, because if you relax too much, you know, and think, oh, this is easy, that's when you make the mistake. And also, you know, your hands shake and you do funny movement when you're really nervous. I mean, we've all been really nervous at some time, and you just know that it affects. So your fingers start doing this. So I was a bit nervous, not too bad.
Am I right? You were not in touch with Martin or Fletch, I think, for a lot of years.
Yeah, we haven't. I have seen them occasionally, but not very often. I haven't seen Fletch for a long time. I've seen Martin a bit more often, and I talked to Dave a bit more by email and things like that. But you know, they live in four different parts of the world, and they're on the road, and so we're not going to run into each other very often.
But you still keep in touch now? I mean, you speak to each other?
Yeah, definitely.
You also said that you kind of prefer sound checks and to open performances before the public. Was it one of the reasons why you haven't ventured out of the studio so often until now?
Yeah, there's been a few reasons. It's not been easy, you know, because what we're doing now wasn't really possible a few years ago, to make a film quite cheaply and quickly so you can do visuals in the way that we're doing it. I'm also not really a natural performer. I don't have this big desire to be in front of an audience, you know. So I can feel sometimes a bit self-conscious about that, you know. And Recoil uses so many different singers, musicians, and it's not like a normal band. And that would be difficult to take on the road with in a normal way, in a conventional way.